Welcome into Inside LAFC podcast. We are double barreling it on this show. This is part of wrapping up the League's Cup group stages. It's also part welcoming Olivier Giroud to Los Angeles. He is here. It's very exciting. And joining me, it's all over now, but he was the man of the hour last week. Now he's moving away for Olivier Giroud and League's Cup. It's Steve Beitashour. You had your moment, Beta.
It was fun. It was fun. It was a good moment. No, it's good to see you, Max. How you doing?
Great. Always great to spend some time with you. This is going to be an awesome show. Giorgio Chiellini is going to join us from Greece to talk about Olivier Giroud arriving in. We want to talk to him because he went through the same thing a couple of years ago, what he needs to do to adjust to life here in Los Angeles with LAFC and Major League Soccer, what advice he would give to Olivier, all of that was coming up here in a few minutes. But we got to talk about League's Cup. Beta, LAFC advance. It was it's hard to put your finger on this game against the Vancouver Whitecaps. So we'll talk about the two games. It was because we weren't there for the Tijuana game on our podcast, but that was really impressive. They came out early and smashed the Cholos, and then the Vancouver game. We're waiting for. There's going to be bad patches, and Steve Cherundolo after the game asked or mentioned that it was a collective malaise that the team went through. They were down 2 goals, but they battled back and they got a point. Because remember, in the League's Cup, after 90 minutes, it goes straight to penalties. If you force penalties, you get at least 1 point. You win penalties, you get 2. If you lose after 90 minutes, you get no points. But that point ended up being critical because now LAFC knows, and we'll talk about who they might play next. They know they're in the next round.
That's a huge point that they got. Down 2-0 for 87 minutes, and then to get 2 late goals. It was very exciting for the fans that were there. Amazing result because you said it guaranteed them result into the next round. So now they don't have to watch the next game and hope and oh, please, something bad don't happen. So it was good for that. But it was a weird game. They possessed. They had some chances. And then they found themselves down 2-0 in the first 30. Heck of a goal by Berhalter. Maybe Romero could have done something. Yeah. But I think Romero was saying he couldn't see the ball because he reacted very late to that. The ball's 40 yards away. So as a defender, I'm looking back at the keeper come on, man, you gotta help us out there. That's 40 yards. And then a set piece goal. So you dominate possession, you create chances, and somehow you're down. So 87 minutes to be down 2-0, but find that equalizer late and just to dig deep and, legs are tired and you still get the point. Really cool, really good result. And now they can kind of relax watching the last game.
I will say this, it was obviously frustrating. And I'm watching social media when the game's going on. There was obviously some frustration, which I don't quite get because all this club has done for supporters and the fans is give them good times all spring and all summer. But when those goals were scored, the first and the second one, everyone waited with the VAR review. When they scored, that place was buzzing. I was roaming around I was popping in some of the suites to say hi to everyone. It was people were into it. So, I think at the end of the day, they were pleased about the response. And, it could have been that 190-minute. Look, LAFC were frustrated. They were getting a lot of shots. You can understand if they kind of say, all right, today's not their day. But they didn't. They kept going.
They did it. They had the pressure on. They hit the post a couple times. Keeper made a couple good saves for the Whitecaps. And so I think the fans were entertained. But when Kai Kamara scores that first one, dunks on the keeper, which Kai Kamara is known for doing. What a goal, by the way. Everyone just kind of got out of their seat, right? Oh, we have a chance now. Only 1 goal. Let's go. Let's get 1 more. Martinez has that blast maybe a minute later. What a rip. Just the technique to hit that out of the air first time. So you're kind of sensing it's coming. And then sure enough, my boy, Matty Bogusz, my MVP right there, gets the equalizer. So the fans are definitely thrilled. It was an exciting game to watch.
I've watched that goal a few times. It's hard to see how he got his head on it, because it would have been David Martinez who put that ball in. But whatever it was, and they looked at it. I thought it was offside at first. The replay showed that he came from a deeper run. And if he didn't touch the ball, he would have been called for probably goalkeeper obstruction. Yeah. And if he was offside and he did touch it, it all ended well. and you get the point.
Yeah.
I wanted to, because Steve Cherundolo, and I've talked to a lot of coaches during Leagues Cup because I've been covering it. A lot of coaches are using this. They're not taking it at less face value, but they're and the Mexican clubs are doing this too. They're finding ways to get some of their younger players an experience, because this is the chance to do it, because when MLS starts, there's 10 games and you're into it. Not completely, but obviously they put Abraham Romero at goal. Eric Duenas started. Nate Ordaz started. And I think some people would say, "Hey, why don't you start your very best team?" But I think this was a good spot. And look, they were down 2 goals. I wouldn't blame those 3 guys. It was more everyone wasn't quite locked in. Maybe there was that unfamiliarity with some of the pairings. But Steve Cherundolo afterwards even said it. He goes, "There's nothing like game experience." So while at the time, maybe it was a little frustrating to not see Kai Kamara in there for Nate, Atuesta in for, and they both came into the game, so you still had that.
Yeah.
The value of getting a game for those guys, I think, supersedes all of that.
Anytime your team is doing well during the season, it gives the coaching staff the opportunity and just a longer leash to, again, rotate the lineup, keep guys fresh. We've mentioned this multiple times on the podcast. Keep guys fresh, right? You don't want to just keep running your guys into the ground. Then come playoff time, they're going to have nothing left. So keep guys fresh. Give guys opportunities. Duenas, young kid. Ordaz, young kid. It's good for them. It's good experience. You can't replicate it. You can't duplicate these moments. Game fitness, you can't train and get game fitness. And get game experience in front of the crowds, under the lights. Like this stuff, and so it is a great moment for those guys, but now they need to start, figuring it out. You don't have a ton of opportunities. I know you're young, but at one point or another, they're going to say, "Hey, you either have it or you don't." So they need to start taking advantage of these moments that they're given by Steve Cherundolo. But again, that all starts with you're in a good position in the standings. So the coach is, he has that longer leash to kind of rotate the lineup. So they need to take advantage of it.
Let's play a little game here, Beta. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
So I'm going to give you the ramifications for the round of 32. So now LAFC, they'll be training, but the next games will be August 7th, 8th, and 9th. I imagine because they played on the Tuesday, they will probably play on the 7th, and their opponents that are playing is in a group with Austin, Monterrey, and Pumas. So Monterrey and Pumas will play over the weekend. So whoever plays that could potentially be an LAFC opponent. But this is how it works. Austin have been the revelation of Leagues Cup. They beat Pumas and they beat Monterrey, which was one of the favorites in the competition. So you're going to play one of those teams. Now, this is how it works. I got to pull out the ramifications list.
Yeah.
If LAFC finishes first in the group, so if Tijuana beats Vancouver or that game ends in a tie and Tijuana wins the penalty shootout, because if Vancouver wins, they'll finish first. Mm-hmm. So that's why this point could be very valuable. And plus, they don't have to do scoreboard watching. They know they're in. If Tijuana wins or does it, then if LAFC will finish second. Now, if Vancouver finishes first and LAFC finishes in second place, LAFC will play Austin at Q2 Stadium in Texas. If LAFC finishes first, they will either play Monterrey or Pumas, whoever finishes first. If they play Monterrey, they will travel to face them in Houston. If they play Pumas, it'll be BMO Stadium. So what would you – you have 3 options.
Let me calculate that. Yeah, so I think if you can choose opponents, first thing you're choosing is home at BMO Stadium in front of 3252, in front of your own crowd. That's first option. I don't care who it is. I'm taking LAFC at home against anybody. And then after that, I think you're probably going Monterrey at Houston Stadium. It's not their home stadium. They're not used to it. Obviously, they'll still have a good crowd, but not, a packed crowd like if they were playing at home. Like Austin will have a packed crowd at home. I know Monterrey will have a lot. Don't get me wrong. You think it'll be sold out? It could be.
I think, what happens, Monterrey, they have them as a hub in Austin, so they'll play there. And Monterrey is it's like 4-hour, 5-hour drive. So I think some people come up, and it should be a good turnout from what I understand.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, that could have been a final. That LAFC and Monterrey played in the quarterfinals. That would be a dream final in many ways.
Yeah.
And it could be in the round of 32.
Yeah, it's going to be a good matchup, but again, Austin, I think, surprised a lot of people with those two big results at home. And again, anytime you're playing at someone else's home stadium, packed crowd, they're used to their field, the way the ball moves, they have extra energy. I'd say that would be the order. So at home, BMO, Monterey, because they're technically on the road, even though they'll have a good crowd. And then after that would be Austin. So that's my who would you rather.
We're just going on potential because we're going to talk about how Liga MX is done because they're not doing great.
Mm-hmm.
But Austin, I don't think you want to taste them. And I was watching some of the highlights of that, and that place was buzzing. Mm-hmm. And they took a lead over Monterrey. They held on. They added a second goal. I mean, it was pretty convincing. And then they never trailed against Pumas. I mean, they won these games relatively clean. And we think of Austin, they struggle and they had a really poor 2023. But I think there's not only are they playing well, but they maybe not every club's feeling the same way, but I think Austin FC is completely locked into this competition. They know they're playing well and they're going, nobody expected us. Let's go get it. And the fans will show up. So it could be, I tend to agree with you, man. Maybe be careful what you choose.
It's weird. Some years are like this. You have these cup competitions and you're not doing well in the standings. And then all of a sudden, like Open Cup or, something comes up and for whatever reason, that team just does well in the tournament. It's almost like, all right, we've given up on the regular season. We're not going to make it. Let's just focus, put all our eggs in that basket. And they're doing well. Not that they're doing poorly.
They've been okay.
They've been okay, right? But they've looked really good the first two games against good teams as well. So, yeah, we'll see how long they continue this.
We are recording this Wednesday morning. At the time of this recording, there were 12 games between MLS and Liga MX, and I believe MLS has won 10 of them. It's crazy. MLS is dominating the Leagues Cup. And you hear all these people saying, well, the Mexican clubs are not taking it seriously. I go, you're crazy. The last thing these Mexican clubs want is to get knocked out in the groups, go back to Mexico, and wait 3 weeks until their season starts again because they'll start August 24th. That's a long – we haven't even hit August yet.
Yeah.
It's a long way. We will hear it very soon. That's a long way away. So you're already here in the U.S. We want to take advantage. So that's not what's at play here. I think there's part in talking to some. I spoke to Steve Trundlow on Tuesday, and he said, "Look, they are 4 games into the season. We have a huge advantage. We are 25 games in. I mean, you can speak on the difference there." And then, not to mention, they're playing from home. So that's two big issues against them. That said, I think most people thought Monterrey and Pumas would overcome it, and maybe it'll get better. But it is not happening right now.
They definitely care. I'm telling you right now. And 4 games is enough time. Now you're game fit. It's the first one for sure. The second one. By the third one, you're fit. You're flying. So that's not an excuse because you could say the complete opposite. Devil's advocate. Let's say, MLS teams are now fatigued. They're in the middle of it, and this is the busy stretch. So you can't say that. The only thing I will let them use as an excuse is the fan base, your home stadium, right? These games aren't in Mexico where they're more hostile. It's intimidating as an away team going into those games because I've been in those games before, and it's intimidating. You got bags of something getting thrown at you, some liquid. They're on top of you, swearing at you. They don't make you feel comfortable. When you play in the U.S. at your own home stadium, it's a little bit more comfortable. You understand how the pitch works. If the ball bounces or rolls a certain way, if it's dry or wet, you're used to it. You go over there, maybe the pitch isn't great. Maybe it's a lot thicker than what you're used to. A lot of different things come into play when you go on the road, where that's the only thing I'll allow them to say. But other than that, MLS has looked good. They've dominated. They've taken it to the Liga MX team. So it's good to see.
I mean, the Monterrey game, I expected them to beat Austin, but I think we're learning also that, MLS is outside of 2 or 3 of the top clubs. They're on level or better than clubs, say 5 through 18 of Liga MX. I think people are realizing that MLS is getting better top to bottom. So I think that's this is the reality of it. And I wouldn't be, I mean, a lot of people said Liga MX are going to bounce back. One of their clubs are going to win it. I don't know, man. I think we're going to see a lot of MLS teams there, which is not ideal. If you're having a Leagues Cup and you have, I think last year it was 11 of the final 16 teams were MLS. Something similar like that, if not more. Could be crazy.
Yeah.
You played in CONCACAF Champions League, correct? You had to travel. So it was in reverse. It was early for you in the season, and you had to go there, and they were a few games in. Maybe explain to us how that works with someone's further along. You said that usually it's 3 games. You're into it.
Yeah. So when we used to do it for Champions League, we were going right away, almost before the season started.
The first game.
So now you're talking about, okay, this is almost like a preseason for you. So we weren't actually match fit like I just described a few minutes ago. These guys are how many games in? 4 or 5 games in? So they should be that 90-minute fit. They should be flying. Because usually in preseason, before the season starts, you're doing one 90-minute game. And again, it's preseason, right? So you're not going as hard as you really would if it were Saturday Night Lights. Under the actual lights in front of your fans, packed crowd, right? The extra energy that makes you make those extra runs. You're not really doing that in preseason, but these guys have had 4 of those. So it's a little bit different if you compare the two. It's not necessarily apples to apples, but yeah, it was difficult, and then we would have to go into Mexico or wherever we were playing, whether it was Costa Rica or El Salvador or any of those countries. Those are different environments. Some of the turf fields I remember we played on, man, they were bad. They were bad. And how do you get used to that, right? You can't. You can't replicate that. They're used to it. They've been playing on that every single home game. But I remember some fields were so thick, the ball just wouldn't travel. You can't pass the ball on the ground. Everything had to be in the air. And then I've played on some turf fields over there where I swear you can see the wave in the ground. If you look, it's not flat and even. And I'm just like, this is a professional team. But look, every team has their own circumstances. Some use it as advantages, some are disadvantages. So it's a fun experience, but it is, again, to bring it back to MLS dominating, it is good to see MLS doing well, even though they're at home. You want to see that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to bring in the Premier League next time.
Yeah,
competition. Just kidding. I'm gonna eat some words on that.
Yeah, you are.
Look, if it got one-sided, you would hope that the idea of playing games in Mexico would be on the table. But when I have these conversations, it is the Mexican clubs, I should say, the owners that want to come here because this is where they make the money. This is where they can bring this and serve a fan base. If for those who are unfamiliar, Mexican national team plays here all the time because it's not apples to apples, but they play here, and Chivas and America and all these Mexican teams come tour here, and they've wanted to play regular season games here because they have a huge audience. There's a lot of money to be made.
Yeah. Well, you look at the San Jose Earthquakes last week, set a Leagues Cup record. What do they have? Like 53,000?
Yeah.
That's a big turnout. So in comparison, if MLS team went and played any team in Mexico, we're not getting close to that. We're getting a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 fans. And so for that, it's a really good audience. It's great. People show up. The only factor is if we go there, it's a big disadvantage, huge disadvantage. So the tables would flip. If we went there, I think they would just dominate because, again, the experience, right? You're going into a hostile environment. You have no fans, the pitch, everything. Over here, at least they have their fans coming and supporting them, which is nice for them. So it's interesting.
So it's a little bit of it's the edge that the Mexican clubs coming here is a little better than in reverse. Is that safe to say?
A little more than a little, but yes.
Yeah. So let's say if it's 50-50 would be even, maybe 65-35.
I'm giving it 75-25.
Wow. Take that, Liga MX. Because this guy's been there. He's played it.
Yeah.
By the way, Beta, how many games for you to get into match fitness? How many games would it normally take? You said 3, but I bet you that's for the regular plebes out there.
Yeah.
But Beta,
Yeah, so preseason they have a certain cycle they build us up, right? First game you're playing 45. Next game you're playing somewhere in the 60 to 70 mark, and then the third game you can play, 85 to 90 minutes. Um, and then first game of the regular season, you're expected to be fit, but you're not flying. You're not game fit. So I want to say by the second 90-minute game in the regular season, I think by then, okay, you're flying. You got everything under your belt. You're ready to go. You feel good. You're excited. But yeah, that first one's always tough, just because you're not properly 90 fit. So yeah, these guys, they should be flying with 4 games under their belt. They should be flying. Yeah, no excuses.
Never a dull minute with LAFC. They'll wait for League's Cup, but the big news this week: Olivier Giroud is here. He is in Los Angeles. They're going to introduce him on Thursday at an event, and he's got his family here. He's going to make the transition. We expect him to play at League's Cup, maybe that round of 32. So if it is LAFC Monterrey, what could make it even bigger? How about Olivier Giroud rolling off the bench to play in there? But this is we've been waiting for it so long. It's crazy that it's here, but I think people have to brace themselves because maybe we get used to it because we've seen Gareth Bale and Giorgio Chiellini, who again will be joining us here in a few minutes to tell us about what Olivier Giroud should expect. We also Hugo Lloris, I think you could put in there, although he didn't come in the summer. But this is something that's going to obviously invigorate the fan base, but it's going to be a big piece for the league as well.
I feel like we've been talking about this for so long. It's like
It's
Christmas.
so weird when he gets here.
Christmas is here. Like, man, we've had so many conversations about, Olivier's on the way. He's almost here. Oh, what day can he start? So it's exciting that he is finally arriving. He's in Los Angeles, and now it's just a matter of speculation of when can he play, when will he be familiar with his teammates and the style of play and all that stuff. Again, he's a world-class player, so it won't take him long. But you don't want to rush him in and get any unnecessary injuries in. I think that's always the first thing at mind. Like, hey, playoff time. That's what we're really shooting for. Be flying by the end and have a magical moment like Gareth Bale did in the 93rd minute MLS Cup final, dunking the ball and gave the game winner. So have a moment like that. So, but it'll be exciting.
Easy.
Yeah.
I think that's why I'm kind of glad that LAFC found that response because it may be this like false narrative and go, oh, we didn't score against Vancouver. He's here in time, kind of rescue us because LAFC is playing great. I mean, it was a bad 20 minutes or whatever. Let's say a bad 45. Let's just say it, leave it at that. But this team still has goals in them. Kike Oliveira has been back. He was really explosive. He just couldn't get the goal, but he did get the goals against Cholos, combining with Denny Bouanga. So I think everything is in place there to do exactly what you're saying. Let him immerse in there. Don't put any pressure and like turn to him and say, hey, we need production. LAFC doesn't need that right now. They're a top scoring team.
Yeah, they're okay right now. They're fine. They're in a good spot in the standings. They're scoring goals. They're creating a ton of chances. That's the important thing. If those things weren't happening, sure, you'd be more inclined to put a little pressure on him and, say, hey, we need some help here. But they don't. They're in a good position. John Thornton is very smart. He knows what he's doing, and he has this player coming in at the perfect time. Get us over that hump when it comes playoff time. Get us that MLS Cup. We want another one of those. And who better than Olivier Giroud with his pedigree and all the accolades and awards that he's gotten. So it's perfect timing for LAFC.
What about for the player? I mean, what do you think is going through his head when he comes here and the team is excelling? And I mean, this is a big transition for him. He's bringing his family. It's a big commitment, but he's coming into a team, and I think sometimes you feel like when you're a transfer, they're bringing you in because they need you immediately. Normally, that's not really the case here.
In my experience as a former player, I never had that opportunity where I was traded or signed or anything mid-season. So I always went in as a free agent to these new destinations in the off season. And I always had that mindset of, hey, like, I have to perform. I have to do well. I always went as a free agent. So they always, paid good money for me. And I was like, that expectation kind of, look, their defense wasn't very good last year. I need to go help them. I need to go do well. So I put the extra pressure on myself. I don't know how he's going to be. He's obviously on a whole nother level than what I was at. And so maybe it's just easy for him. He comes in, he scores some goals, he's happy, he's relaxed. But I would feel pressure if I were him by my own standards. I'd put that pressure on myself to perform. So I don't know. Our situations were different. I was always coming in the off season where he's coming mid season. Team's playing, they're doing really well. So we'll see. I don't have an exact answer for you, Max, but I imagine he'll do well just because everywhere he goes, he does well.
I think it could not be a more peach situation because you have Hugo Lloris, Giorgio Chiellini, who we'll talk to. I know he'll probably reach out to him and let him know. I mean, they're not as tight as Hugo and Olivier. You have Denis Bouanga, who represents Gabon, but he's a French player. Maxime Chanot, who represents Luxembourg, but he's a French player. I go to training and you see those guys dining together and talking together. So there is a really nice support system. And that's got to be huge on a move like this to let you know that and we know LAFC excel when it comes to bringing in new players and create a good environment for everyone.
Yeah, those clicks naturally form very quickly, and you're spot on. Just that small factor of they all speak French is going to just bring them in right away. Obviously, he speaks English as well, but you see that with a lot of South American, Central American players who come in who are young and don't speak English or very little of it. They naturally just gravitate towards those Spanish-speaking groups, and they all stick together. They look after him. So he'll get that right away with those players that you mentioned. So he'll feel right at home.
Who was your clique? Was it Harvey? Who did you dine with?
It was Harvey. Harvey and I were boys, and Justin Morrow. So between Justin Morrow and Jordan Harvey, those were pretty much the two left backs on every team that I played with before I got to the Rapids. So for 10 years, those were my roommates on the road. Those were the guys I hung out with. Those are still like brothers to me. We talk, every single week. Very, very good. I talk to them probably more than my actual brother, to be honest. So those guys, we created quite a friendship. So that's a beautiful thing about the game. You create these relationships.
Were you like that guy who, like, if someone was sitting at your place on in the cafeteria, like, hey, move it?
Olivier, move it. We have so many seats that you don't need to do that. Okay. It's one of those whoever gets there first, and usually Harvey and I were the first ones in, so we can take our picks. But if you get in there late and it's a full packed house, then you just take whatever you got. Yeah.
Exciting week. Olivier Giroud is here. The following week, Leagues Cup round of 32 will begin, and we know LAFC will be part of that. Beta, great stuff, man. I can't wait. It's a wonderful club to follow, and we'll continue to do that.
It is. All eyes will be watching. I'm excited to see his first game. Whenever it'll be, we'll all be watching. So thanks again, Max. I appreciate it.
It'll be in August at some point. Okay. We will continue Inside LAFC podcast. Joining us from across the pond and then some, Giorgio Chiellini, to discuss the arrival of Olivier Giroud and what he can expect upon his move to Los Angeles and with LAFC. This is Inside LAFC Podcast.
Inside LAFC Podcast is presented by Freeway Insurance. Driving savings.
We are back here on Inside LAFC Podcast, and joining us from beautiful Greece, where he's been, no doubt, was up late last night or early this morning watching LAFC Vancouver Whitecaps. Giorgio Chiellini, how are you, my friend?
Ciao, Max. Everything's going well. I wake up early in the morning to watch the second half of the game against Vancouver. We were losing, and then we tied at the late goal, and unfortunately we lost the PK, but it was an important result. Everything is going well. I miss you all, but I'm really happy to be part of the podcast and to be close to LAFC much as possible.
Well, we are thrilled to have you, Giorgio. We it's important for us to stay in touch, so people don't forget you ever. So, and I know he's out. He's got his Apple TV subscription, and he's watching. I'm sure he's going to watch more Leagues Cup. He's keeping in touch with everything that's happening with LAFC, including Olivier Giroud has arrived. So everyone's excited. We wanted to get you on here because you went through the exact same thing. A big star in Europe coming over You knew about LAFC. We know Olivier does, and living in Los Angeles, and you came through it. So you're experiencing this as well. Before you arrived, what was it? What was it like those days before you knew you were going to make this big move over to the United States?
Yes, a little bit of not anxiety, but some issues about things, some concerns about what I can do for the family, what I could figure out. It's not easy to understand. Sorry, Nina. Sorry, redo it.
Are you by the swimming pool?
Yeah, my daughter, Pablo, daddy, 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 daddy. Sorry, do it again, please.
Okay, well, that's a big part of it because you're bringing your family here. It's a big deal. So all those things you had to do before moving, because Olivier is going to bring his family. This is a big move that he's coming to LA.
Yeah, at the beginning is try to settle the best as possible the thing, but the club helped me so much in everything, and after that is also the most difficult things was arrive in the middle of the season after holiday. That's not easy for us to do it, and run. Yeah, every time try to catch up our teammates because the fit is so different and it wasn't easy. The second year, it was much easier to start all together, do the preseason. But I think that we have a good staff that could figure out the best way to Olivier to coming in the right shape and arrive ready for the playoffs. But fortunately, during the League Cup, he could manage some minutes. It's like almost a preseason. I did it during the regular season. That was not the best things to do but it's like a cherry on the top of the cake. Fortunately, we have created a good cake in this month, and now Olivier, is arriving, helping us to, hopefully to go till the end.
So the League's Cup going on will help him because it's a better. You think it'll be a better adjustment for him than what you did because you came in last few games of the season, bam, get in there and help us.
Yes, 100%. Also, we have now League Cup on the end of the month. We have also the Open Cup, the semifinal in Seattle. That is very important. And the last 9 games of the regular season in order to arrive in the best shape for the playoffs. And we are there. Like when we arrive, we are fighting for the top of the West for the supporter shield. That is the best place to be.
You are friends with Olivier. Have you spoken to him between the announcement and now?
I spoken to him a few months ago when we announced him, and in order to figure out something. But I'm sure that Hugo is much more in touch with him. He was so happy to this transition and this choice, and I'm sure he will find a new family in LA, and he could live a couple of years very beautiful and have the team to lift our other trophies that we need him to lift one as soon as possible.
Well, there's a lot of trophies to win. Obviously, they're in contention to many MLS Cup, Supporter Shield, Open Cup, Leagues Cup. We'll see what happens, but there's a lot. What advice would you give him? Because you love LA, you love this club, and you love living LA. We spoke about. What advice would you tell him about would help him adjusting to this new adventure?
I know he's a winner. That's about these things. I can give him advice. His volunteer is always to win and to get his teammates better, and what he did for all his career. He was the only number 9, the only striker in the world that to be a key without scoring a goal. And I remember the World Cup 2018. He never scored, but it was so important for France to win the World Cup. And he's doing a good job last years with Pulisic, Leao, helping them to score, but also receiving assist and score. He would be helpful for Buanga and Oliveira, I think, and don't look just at the number, but much more that could be every day improving and challenging themselves to be better and better. And once the family is settled, and I'm sure that he had time to prepare everything, he will enjoy LA and the best part, but be professional as usual.
Yeah, let him know the good spots in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, but there is a lot of good spots all over LA and all over California that I love.
But you were mentioning it, when people think of Olivier Giroud, oh, how many goals is he going to score? Is he going to score 10? Is he going to score 15? But it's important that you say his presence will allow others to get better. That's the kind of player he is. So we'll see the other player numbers going up.
Yeah, but also because I think also the performance and the effectiveness, not just the number, is going up because he's a good scorer, but he is much more. He's able to link the play, is able to connect and receive the ball and maybe pass to the wingers in order to them score or create superiority, and also is able to work every day pushing some people that maybe is not so focused every day to be serious and to improve. And we looked last year's to Pulisic, to Leao, what season they had. It's not just because of him, but because of him, he was there. He was a really a good presence for them, for everyone in the locker room and in the club. He's really a good dad that mix a little bit with the freshness of the young guy and the maturity of the older one.
Take us into what a big star like you and Olivier do when you're playing on the international level. So he came, finished his club season with Milan. Then he joined France, which is very demanding, and you've had that experience with Italy. That ended 2 weeks ago. And then what happens? You have a vacation, and then you need to have some time off, correct? Or whatever it is, vacation, family time. And then what is the right amount of time for that? And then eventually joining your new club.
I think that the time now he has is the right time, but important that Steve and all the staff are ready for that. Is helping him to have this month of August like pre-season, getting minutes, getting loading, but not so much. But they did it with me. They did it with Garrett. They are able to manage it. Fortunately, Olivier is much better than me physically. He's still in a good shape. He played a lot the last seasons, and we could really expect a lot from him. I think he doesn't feel the pressure of my words. Obviously, he's loving to have pressure, but I'm really confident that he could be really a key for LAFC. Yeah, and we are waiting for November, December, and we'll talk about it again.
Well, we're excited. Now, when you came back in 2022, the brand of LAFC was at a nice level, but that was before they won a championship. They've won a championship. 2 years later, it continues to grow. Being in Europe, how now that you see it, what is different from MLS and particularly LAFC, and how people in Europe, how big soccer players, stars view this club?
Obviously, my arrival, Garrett, now Hugo and Olivier had the club. The Messi landed in the MLS helped a lot because it's not just Miami, but also you start to watch MLS, and watching MLS, you start to watch LAFC, and our value, our brand is getting more popular every year, and that's very important. I hope that this league could continue to grow up in this way and maybe faster. There are some moves that they did in the group of owner and the league did it in the summer. There is upcoming the World Cup. It's a beautiful place to be. US. It's a beautiful league to play MLS, and there is a lot of opportunities. And really, for soccer, is the land of opportunity. And I love the way in which they are managing and they are trying to do it. We could go faster, slower. It depends on situation, obviously, faster than as possible. But it's really lovable to watch MLS how it's growing up in the last year.
Do players reach out to you and ask you, "Hey, what's it like?" Whomever that might be.
Yeah, obviously, people listen to me and ask me about my experience, and I suggest to everyone go try this experience. It doesn't matter the city. Obviously, you could live in LA, but there's a lot of nice cities that we don't know, but we could really enjoy. It's a good experience for the family. What I hope is some players like me and Olivier that we are talking today could arrive a little bit earlier. Just 2-3 years earlier is a lot. Is a lot, because you could imagine to watch this type of player not just a couple of years, but 3, 4, 5. That's really because now people are understanding the difference between and the level between Europe and here, and having us earlier could help them to enjoy big players in a better shape and in a not in their prime maybe, but still a very good level. And we're looking at Messi now. That's still amazing.
So do you think that'll happen? Do you think players, big stars from Europe or South America, maybe instead of 34, 35, will say, I'm going to go there at 30, 31?
Yeah,
Sooner?
we cannot do like Saudi, but I would really think that step by step, little step, probably not big step or big jump. People could arrive earlier and be sustainable, and things. The leagues could continue to grow up in this way, and not just a couple of cities, but probably more all over the US. That's the goal. That's what I hope and what I think that could happen.
And they would come. They would say the level is good. I could be playing in Champions League, but I know at maybe at 30 in my prime, MLS would be a good option for me. It's getting there.
Yeah, I would have loved to arrive 3-4 years before, but honestly, the difference was too much. But at the end, it's not just Champions League; it's also everything that's around. That's not easy. Now with the rules that are arriving, and not just the 3DP, but we could add a little bit more flexibility on this type of things, because long-term salary is the biggest issue for players. You could decide 1-2 years, but if you want to build really a good team, you need more money to build the roster. That's it.
I'm going to send this to Don Garber, the commissioner, so he can hear it himself.
I've talked to him about that. He understands. He's trying to do it the best to do it, maintaining the sustainability. That's what I love also about the US, and not just spending money, but let all the teams growing up and convincing the owner to spend, but doing it in the right way.
Maybe you could be the next commissioner of MLS, Giorgio.
No. That's okay.
It's been great to see you. I know you got to go get a little beach time here before we part ways, because it's late in the day there where you're joining us. I'm just curious, if somebody asked you and said, hey, you can't come to LA, you've been to the United States, what cities, what clubs would you suggest could be another backup? Because LA, we're getting full. We have Hugo and Olivier and Denny and a big group. Who knows who comes next? But there won't be that many spots. What other cities would you say, or clubs would you encourage?
Obviously, New York is a beautiful city. I would have loved to visit a little bit more the East Coast. Boston, Washington could be very nice. I love it in the West Coast. Vancouver is a very nice city. Nashville surprised me a little bit because I didn't expect this type of city, and when I went there, it seems nice. But at the end, when your family is settled, you could live very well in US, in all the states. Obviously, California is beautiful. San Diego, that is arriving, is one of the best places to be, except LA. If I have someone to suggest, one team is going to San Diego, and we could have a good rivalry upcoming, not just Galaxy, but also have San Diego. Good franchise, good place, and another club in California.
We're gonna save this for players that come over, and we'll let the future commissioner of MLS guide them in there. Because it's a beautiful country. We have so much room in LA.
Yes,
they can't go to the Galaxy.
No, Galaxy. I have big friend there, and you know about Will. That was the first people that I talked about the LAFC, but I cannot suggest Galaxy. I want to maintain the rivalry and to be always the best in town.
Very good, Giorgio. We miss you. Come back whenever you can. We'll have it all set up for you. But appreciate you taking some time from your time off to join us here on Inside LAFC podcast.
I love you guys. I'm continuing to follow LAFC, and I'll be back before the end of the year. I promise.
It's 100% true. He's going to watch every game. He's going to watch every game from whether he's in Italy or Greece, he'll watch. Giorgio Chiellini joining us here on Inside LAFC podcast. That's all the time we have. We look forward to welcoming Olivier Giroud. Let's give him a big LA welcome. And let's get ready for the next set of games here in MLS and Leagues Cup and the business end of the season. We will see you again next week as we continue our look at Leagues Cup and moving forward here in 2024. Have a great day, everyone.